Hello friend, welcome back. In your previous video, I already discussed about that things with you, how can insert the permission from the create page. So that is the or all that field. And for this field, I just add some of the validations here. I already added that some of the validations like this field is the required. Rather than it should be display some of the error message as the name field is required, and also there is another validation for the alpha null. Okay, and also I just display that message on particular that page, that means in our create blade. So like if you put make the things as a empty, and now if you click on the submit, now you can see it's now showing as a name field is required. And also here if you put some of the name for the permissions, like here I just define the permission, and for now I just define the permission as a one of the spaces, and also I just define the tree, and now here I just define one of the permission like as I define as a permission 3, and also here I just put some of the description on particular that area, and also they have another validations like it will be check the alpha numeric data. Like here if you click on the submit, now you can see it's now showing as another error message on particular that position. So these two of this message I already defined on particular that area. So here I just defining that message, and now this message is perfectly visible in our page. And also other than he will be check all that field and insert the data, and after that insert he will I just put some of the action, it should be redirected to our that same page. So right now if you select as a permission 3 on here, and also I just defining as a display name as a permission 3, I just added some of the description, and then if you click on the submit, then data will be inserted in our database table. And here if you go and refresh that database table, now here you can see there is a new permission data is inserted successfully. So in this video, I will show you how we can read all that permission data and display that in our permission list page. So for doing this, first of all, we have to create one of the route for this one. Like here, that is our routes. And into this position, I just copy it. Okay, I just copy it, and here I just defining it. Like that is actually the get method, and here I just defining on particular that position as a permission, a slash permission, and then our admin, and there is also another controller. So that I just define that is actually permission controller. So I just copy it, permission controller, and into the permission controller here I want to access one of the method. So I just defining as the index method. So now in our index method we have to work, okay, like here that is our controller name, that is a permission controller. So that is our permission controller that is actually on our admin folder, and there is a controller admin and then the permission controller. Okay, so on particular that positions, like they have the index method. So now I have to do, first of all, here I just want to take one of the variable. Like here I just take one of the variable as a page underscore name, and here I just defining the page name as permission. And now here on particular that position I just take I want to get all that permissions data. For the reasons I just take another variable and I just name it as a data, and with the data variable, first of all, here I just define all the permissions. Like here I just define the permission. Okay, into the permission here I just define all. So I just want to get all the data on particular that variable. Okay, and after that I want to return it. So here I just define the return, and return then view. So view which page. So here I have to add that URL. Okay, so here he get all the data and visible that on our, if you go to the resources, that is actually the admin, and into the admin there is a permission, and into the permission folder, so that have one of the page as a listblade.php. So now I want to redirected all data and visible that things on particular that page. Okay, for the reasons here I just define that URL. So I just define that URL as a admin, then our permission folder. Okay, then the permission folder, and in a permission folder there is another page as a list. So I just define that list page. So now we have to compact it. Like here I just define the compact, and into the compact here we have to define our this data, that means where I actually get all the data from our database, and I just take that things with this variable. So here you have to pass that things on here, and also I just pass that name, that means the page name. So here I just defining it on here, so I just also pass that page name. And page name is actually means like if you go on particular that page, that is a list plate, and here you can see they have some of that data like is a page name on particular, that is a dashboard. So I just want to make the things dynamic. Okay, so dynamically he actually get all that page name from to this position. For the reasons I just passed also that page name on here. So it means I just want to show that page name. Okay, so I will show you when I actually run that page, and then here you have to add the semicolon. So now we have to work in our this list plate. Okay, so first of all here that is actually the name. So as I told you, for now here I want to display that name. For doing this, like here I have to define the two second bracket on particular that position. I have to actually visible that page name. Okay, so for the reasons I just defining that page name on here, so automatically he will show that name as a permission. For now I just defining it on here. So I hope you can well understand about it, or rather than you can actually manually static add some of the static data. So right now I just want to make the things dynamic, because before in our create plate here I actually added, you can see I just added that page name statically on here. So right now I just want to get all the things from our controller. So here I just defining one of the names. So now I just defining that name on particular this area. And then there is the our another, like there is a data table. So here I also want to display that name. So where I just copy it, and here I just define our page name on particular that position. And now that is our field name, and that is our tier. Okay, so right now there is actually all the static data. Right now I only want to work with one tier. That means I just want to actually make the things dynamically I just visible on here. So we don't need all the static data, but I just take only one tier, and rather than I just remove all the tier from here. Okay, like here I just select it, and these tiers I just, that is n tiers, I just remove it. So here I only work with this tier. And now first of all that is all that field name. So here first of all I just define field as a hash, like it should be display all that number on particular this area. Then our database field, like if you go to this position, that means our database table, here is the name, display name, and the description. So these three data I just want to visible. So for the reasons here I just define that name, and then I just define that display name. Okay, I just define the display name and also the description. So I just define the description, and also I take another one. I take another one for the option or action, whatever you want. So right now I just define that option. Like into this option area I will discuss about that things with you, how can actually edit that, or how can delete it. So here I just define some of the button on particular that area. For the reasons now I just define that as an option. And now here I have to work on particular that TD. So into the TD I just actually show all the data from our database and visible that things on here. Okay, for doing this it's pretty much simple. Like first of all here you have to define one of the for each. So here I just define the for each. Okay, and into the for each here I first of all define the data. So I just take that variable as a data. Okay, because here you can see I just defining that variable on particular that position as a data. For the reasons I just defining as a data on here, and I just allocate as that as a row. So here I just define that row. Okay, so first of all here I want to actually showing that serial. So I want to do that work with using, like here I define one of the variable. Here I just define one of the variable as a I, and into this position I just define that I on here with the row. So then I just define that things into this for each loop, and also here I have to finish it. So here I just define that at the rate and for each. And now here first of all this TD. So here I just defining that serial number. For the reasons I have to define the 2-second bracket, and into this position I just define that plus plus. That means it should be automatically implemented. So here I just define that I variable. Okay, and now there is another field. So this field is for the name. So here I just defining our field name. So now here I just defining that field on particular that position. So we just defining get all that things in our for each with this row. Okay, so now we have to actually access that field with this row. So here I just defining that row, and with this row I have to add that our database field name. So finally right now our database field name is a name, there is a display name and the description. So here I just defining as a name, and then I have to also define, like I just better copy it. I just defining for the display name, and that is actually for the description. So now better go to these positions, like go to the structure, and here that is the field name is the display name. So I just copy that display name, and here that field will be the our display name, and also another one is for the description. So right now I just copy that description field name, and here I just added that description field. And right now there is options. So for the option I will work that things later. Right now I just make that things as a blank on here. So now if you click on the save all, like I just click on the save all, and now I want to access that page. So this page link I just defining as a permission. So now go to our page, like there is a back, and here I just define that permission, and now click on the enter. Yes, now we'll see here all the data now comes from our database. So that is our database table. If you go to the browse, here all the data is now comes from to this position, and now it's visible on particular this area. And also here I have loaded our data table, like for the reasons if you search anything on particular that position, now you see it's automatically display on here. And here also there is a pagination, so that is actually comes from our data table. So for the reasons I just defining our data table on particular that area. And now here we successfully read all the data from our database and display that things in our permission page. And also here you can see I just defining that page name, and here also I defining that page name. So this page name I just defining in our controller with this page name variable, and here I just pass that variable in our compact. Okay, and into these positions I just simply echo that page name on particular that area. So for the reasons it's now display on here. So I hope you can well understand about it. So I will continue this process, and in our next video here I want to add one of the button for the create, and how can actually display that message, like when you insert some of the data, then some of the message will be visible on here, because I already added that type of message. Like if you go to the permissions here, you can see I just defining that actions, and here I just defining one of the success message, and with the permissions created successfully. So this message will be displayed in our that area. So how can do that work? In our next video I will show you that things with the live example. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.